3 weeks ago, an elegant invitation arrived in my mailbox, embossed with silver lettering announcing my daughter Emily's 16th birthday gala at the downtown Hilton. It requested formal attire, promising a grand celebration. At the top, Emily's name stood out, and at the bottom, in smaller print, it mentioned a gathering with loved ones. Loved ones. The phrase stung, as I hadn't heard from Emily in 5 years. Not since her mother, Rachel, remarried and relocated across the state. Yet, the invitation bore my new address, meaning someone had tracked me down. That night, I sat in my small apartment, holding the heavy card, wondering if Emily had personally requested my presence. But knowing Rachel for 14 years, 7 of them as her husband, I recognized her tactics. I called my friend Mike, who warned me it was a trap, urging me not to go. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that Rachel's overconfidence would lead her to overstep, as she always did. 5 years of silence, returned gifts, blocked calls, and child support payments cashed without a word, made this invitation suspicious. I RSVP'd yes, via the provided number, receiving a prompt reply, confirming my attendance, and asking about dietary preferences. That sealed it. If Emily truly wanted me there, Rachel would have fought to keep me away. This was a setup. I spent the next 3 weeks preparing. I had my best suit dry cleaned, the one I bought after my promotion to service manager. I got a fresh haircut and polished my 2018 Honda Civic, which, though not flashy, I kept spotless. The morning of the event, I looked in the mirror, a far cry from the man Rachel last saw, scraping by with 2 jobs to pay bills. The divorce had crushed me financially. Rachel's wealthy parents funded her legal team, while I represented myself, unable to afford a lawyer. She secured primary custody, leaving me with alternate weekends that dwindled to nothing as Emily's schedule filled with extracurriculars. Child support was calculated based on a job I lost during the legal battle, leaving me perpetually behind and under threat of legal action. But I rebuilt. I earned an automotive certification, moved from basic repairs to diagnostics, then into management. I took evening college courses, cleared my debts, and kept Emily in my thoughts, determined to prove I wasn't the failure Rachel likely described. I learned of Rachel's remarriage through social media. She wed Stephen, a corporate executive with an Ivy League degree, whose posts featured yacht trips and country clubs. Their wedding album showed Emily as a junior bridesmaid in a gown worth more than my monthly rent. Soon after, they moved to an upscale suburb with homes named rather than numbered. The 4-hour drive to the Hilton gave me time to clear my mind. I arrived early, walking the city streets, clutching an envelope I'd prepared years ago and updated regularly, knowing Rachel's pattern of pushing boundaries until consequences hit. The Hilton's opulent lobby, with its chandeliers and polished marble, buzzed with formally dressed guests. I followed signs to the grand ballroom, where 2 security guards stood with a guest list. I gave my name, and after a double check and a glance between them, one asked me to wait. Through the glass doors, I saw a lavish setup, balloon arches, a dessert table, a photo booth, and nearly 150 guests dancing to a DJ's music. Then Rachel appeared, striding out with Stephen trailing, phone in hand. Her gold dress matched the decor, her heels giving her an imposing height. Her smile radiated triumph. "You actually showed up," she said loudly, drawing eyes. "Did you think we'd let you ruin Emily's night?" Stephen smirked, eyeing my suit. "We sent that invite for laughs, man. Wanted to see if you'd drag yourself here in that junker car." The guards edged closer, ready to intervene. Guests slowed, sensing drama, some peering through the glass. Then Emily emerged, a vision in a silver gown, phone recording me. "Dad, really?" she said, her tone dripping with disdain. You drove all this way for a party you weren't even invited to? This is mortifying. Rachel draped an arm around Emily. Everyone here thinks you passed away in a car crash years ago. We held a memorial. Emily was so strong. Stephen kept filming, mocking my shoes, asking if I still worked at a quick lube shop. Emily scrolled her phone, likely sharing the video. I told everyone my dad was dead because it's less embarrassing than admitting you're my father, she said. A guard touched my arm, asking me to leave. I stayed silent, letting them revel in their moment, their cameras capturing their win. Rachel tossed a $10 bill at my feet. For gas. Now, leave before we call the police for stalking. The hotel manager, a woman in a sharp blazer, approached, urging me to follow her to avoid a scene. I met Rachel's eyes, seeing her familiar smugness, the look of someone who thought they'd won. Smiling, I pulled the envelope from my jacket. Give this to Emily with her gifts. Rachel's confidence wavered. What's that? A gift for my daughter, I said, stepping past her to the concierge desk. I explained I had a gift for Emily's party, but couldn't stay, asking them to ensure it reached her. The concierge noted it and promised delivery. The manager escorted me to the parking garage, apologizing politely. I thanked her, drove home, stopping for a late diner meal, and reached my apartment by midnight. I showered, hung up my suit, and ate a sandwich while my phone erupted with notifications, missed calls and texts from Rachel's number. I ignored them, counting over 50 calls before muting it. The first voicemail was Rachel, hysterical, begging me to call back, saying, "What did you do? We need to talk." I deleted it, turned off my phone, and felt a calm I hadn't known in years. The next morning, my phone was overwhelmed. 120 calls, 70 texts, 18 voicemails, mostly from Rachel, some from unknown numbers, likely Stephen or Emily. I made coffee first, unmoved by their urgency after years of being shut out. Rachel's voicemails ranged from tears to rage, accusing me of ruining Emily's party, saying she'd locked herself in her room, that guests were gossiping. Stephen's messages were measured, requesting a man-to-man talk. I texted Rachel, "We'll talk in person. Name a place." She called repeatedly. I reiterated, "In person or nothing." She suggested a nearby diner at 2 p.m. I countered with 3. She agreed, asking me not to make a scene. At the diner, Rachel looked disheveled. No makeup, casual clothes, a stark contrast to her usual polish. "You've changed," she said, noting my haircut and weight loss. Over coffee, she demanded, "What was in that envelope?" "Records," I replied. "Things Emily needed to know." Her hands shook. "She's 16. You had no right." I cut in. "You told her I was dead. You faked a car crash story." Rachel's jaw clenched. "It was to protect her. You were never around." "You blocked me," I said. She raised her voice, saying Emily read the envelope's contents aloud, bank statements showing 5 years of child support, a custody agreement granting me visitation, emails where Rachel claimed Emily refused contact, and a counselor's note about Emily's therapy for feeling unloved by me. Rachel admitted Stephen's family questioned her, his lawyer sister noting possible contempt of court. Emily was devastated, asking why Rachel lied. "She won't speak to me," Rachel said, and Stephen's distant. "His parents are questioning my honesty." Rachel begged me to tell Emily the envelope was a mistake, to say I exaggerated. "You lied about my death," I said. "You humiliated me for sport." She mentioned a private letter in the envelope, one Emily read alone and cried over. "What did you write?" she asked. "That's for Emily," I replied. Rachel stepped outside for a call with Stephen, returning pale, saying he wanted to meet me at his office tomorrow, alone. "Please don't make this worse," she pleaded. I paid for my meal and left, saying, "You erased me for 5 years." You don't get to dictate now. The next day at Steven's sleek office, he offered a deal. Supervised visitation with Emily in exchange for silence about the past. He proposed a payment to replace child support, framing it as a way to enhance my time with Emily. "You're buying my silence," I said. He called it stability. I refused, saying, "I want Emily to know the truth." He warned I'd lose leverage soon. Later, a text from an unknown number read, "Dad, it's me." Emily asked me to pick her up. I explained I needed Rachel's permission legally. She replied, "Mom's scared I'll hate her. I don't know who to trust." I contacted Mike's cousin, whose daughter knew Emily, to relay a message. She confirmed Emily was struggling emotionally, but safe. On Instagram, Emily's posts hinted at betrayal, sparking concern from friends. Rachel called, frantic, saying Emily was missing. I guessed she was at her friend's house nearby, which Rachel confirmed after hanging up. Emily texted, upset I'd told Rachel her location. I explained I couldn't legally take her, but was there to talk. She revealed Steven offered money to silence me. Rachel proposed a family meeting, but I held off. Steven's lawyer sent a formal custody proposal, echoing his offer. Then Rachel's mother, Linda, called, shocked by the envelope's contents, questioning Rachel's lies. She and her husband, Tom, invited me over, asking I not tell Rachel. At their home, Linda and Tom admitted, suspecting I was alive due to child support, but believed Rachel's life insurance excuse. They discovered Rachel had filtered my emails and calls. Emily had shown them the envelope, including a letter about our past, bedtime stories, my attempts to attend her games, and her secret call to me at 14, which I learned through Mike's cousin. I revealed Rachel's messages with Steven before our divorce, showing an emotional affair. Linda and Tom were stunned, realizing Rachel had painted me as the villain to justify her new life. They planned to confront Steven's parents. At Steven's parents' mansion, they showed me Rachel's messages, confirming her deception. They proposed Steven separate from Rachel, cutting her financial support, and offered me supervised visits with Emily. Steven admitted believing Rachel's story, regretting his role. Rachel later called, furious, as Steven moved out and her accounts were frozen. Emily and I began rebuilding our bond over dinners, moving to unsupervised visits. Rachel, now living with her parents, faces a crumbling marriage and strained family ties. I don't regret exposing her lies. Emily and I are planning a museum visit soon, a step toward reclaiming what Rachel tried to erase. Over the next few weeks, my dinners with Emily became the highlight of my life. We'd meet at a local pizza place or a diner, places where we could just talk without the weight of Tucker's parents watching us. Emily was still guarded, her teenage sarcasm a shield, but I could see cracks forming. She'd ask small questions at first, about my favorite movies, what music I listened to when I was her age, why I chose to work on cars. I kept my answers light, letting her lead. By our sixth dinner, she showed me a drawing she'd done in art class, a sketch of a vintage Mustang. "You'd probably know how to fix one of these, right?" she asked, a shy smile breaking through. I told her about the '67 Mustang I'd restored during my certification course, and her eyes lit up. For the first time, I felt like we were connecting, not just rebuilding. Meanwhile, Rachel was unraveling. Linda called me one evening, her voice tight. She said Rachel had taken a job as an office assistant at a local real estate firm, a far cry from the lavish lifestyle she'd grown accustomed to with Steven. The house sale was moving forward, and Rachel was struggling to afford a lawyer. Linda and Tom were covering her rent for a small apartment, but their patience was thinning. "She's our daughter," Linda said, "but we can't keep enabling her. She's refusing to take responsibility for what she did to you and Emily." Linda mentioned that Emily had started spending weekends with them, avoiding Rachel's new place. Apparently, Emily had found more of Rachel's old messages on an old tablet. Flirty exchanges with Stephen from years ago that confirmed my story. Emily showed them to Linda, who was now questioning everything Rachel had told her over the years. Stephen, for his part, kept his distance. His parents, Richard and Patricia, were firm about the separation, and I heard through Linda that he'd started therapy to reassess his priorities. His family's reputation was their priority, and they were determined to keep the scandal contained. They invited me to their home again to discuss Emily's future. Over coffee in their pristine kitchen, Patricia laid out a plan. They'd fund a college savings account for Emily, ensuring her education was secure, but only if I agreed to keep the details of Rachel's deception out of court. "We want this handled privately," Richard said, his tone clipped. "No lawsuits, no public drama." I told them I wasn't interested in dragging things through court, but I wouldn't sign anything silencing me either. "Emily knows the truth now," I said. "That's what matters." They didn't push, but I could tell they were uneasy about how much control they'd lost over the narrative. The real shift came a month later. Emily texted me late one night. "Can we talk?" Like, not at dinner. I drove to a park near Linda and Tom's house, where she was staying. She sat on a bench, bundled in a hoodie, staring at her shoes. "I found something else," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She handed me her phone, opened to an email thread from Rachel's old account, one Emily had accessed, while helping Linda set up a new laptop. The emails were between Rachel and a family friend, dated a year after the divorce. In them, Rachel admitted she'd exaggerated my financial struggles to justify keeping Emily away, saying it was easier to control the story if I was out of the picture. She even mentioned coaching Emily to say she didn't want to see me during custody mediation. Emily's hands shook as she spoke. "She made me think you didn't care." I said those things because she told me it was true. I hugged her, the first real hug we'd shared in years, and she didn't pull away. "I'm so sorry, kiddo," I said. "I never stopped trying." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "I want to live with you. Not Mom, not Tucker's parents. You." My heart stopped. Legally, it was tricky. Rachel still had primary custody, and Emily was still a minor, but her words lit a fire in me. I contacted a lawyer the next day, a pro bono advocate recommended by a coworker, who agreed to review the custody agreement. She warned me it'd be a fight, especially since Rachel was already gearing up for a legal battle, claiming I'd poisoned Emily against her. Rachel's response came swiftly. She called, her voice a mix of desperation and venom. "You're turning my daughter against me," she said. "I'll prove you're unfit. You think you can just waltz back into her life after being absent?" I reminded her that she'd orchestrated my absence, that the emails Emily found were proof. She went silent, then hung up. The next day, her lawyer sent a letter accusing me of emotional manipulation and demanding I cease contact with Emily until a hearing. My lawyer laughed when she read it. "They've got nothing," she said. "Those emails are a goldmine. Rachel violated the custody order for years. We can push for contempt." Before things escalated further, Emily took matters into her own hands. She posted on Instagram a public letter to her followers, detailing everything. Rachel's lies, the fake story about my death, the years of blocked contact. She included screenshots of the emails and tagged Rachel's account. The post went viral among her school friends, spreading to their parents and beyond. By the next morning, Linda called, panicked. "Rachel's a mess," she said. "Her boss saw the post, and now her job's at risk. People are talking." I felt a pang of guilt, not for Rachel, but for Emily, who'd exposed her own pain to the world. I texted her, asking if she was okay. "I needed everyone to know," she replied. I'm tired of her lies. The fallout was immediate. Rachel's employer, a conservative real estate firm, put her on leave, citing personal conduct concerns. Stephen's parents, already distancing themselves, issued a statement through their lawyer, emphasizing their commitment to Emily's well-being but severing ties with Rachel entirely. Linda and Tom, torn between supporting their daughter and acknowledging her wrongs, offered to mediate a meeting between me, Emily, and Rachel. I agreed, but only if Emily wanted it. She did, but on her terms, neutral ground, a coffee shop, with Linda present. The meeting was tense. Rachel sat across from us, her eyes red, her usual confidence gone. Emily spoke first, her voice steady. You lied to me for years. You made me think Dad didn't want me. I can't trust you anymore. Rachel tried to explain, saying she'd wanted to protect Emily, to give her a stable life with Stephen. Stable. Emily snapped. You built my life on a lie. I stayed quiet, letting Emily say what she needed. Rachel turned to me, pleading. You've won. You got what you wanted. Can we just move forward? I shook my head. This isn't about winning. It's about Emily knowing the truth and deciding for herself. Linda, wiping tears, promised to support Emily's choice, even if it meant going against Rachel. 2 weeks later, my lawyer filed for a custody modification, citing Rachel's documented interference and Emily's expressed desire to live with me. The judge, after reviewing the emails and Emily's statement, granted temporary shared custody, with Emily spending weekdays with me and weekends with Rachel or Linda, pending a full hearing. Emily moved into my apartment, turning my spare room into her own with posters and sketches. It's cramped, but she says it feels real. We're planning a road trip to see a car show next month. She wants to learn about engines. Rachel's fighting the custody change, but her case is weak. Her reputation's in tatters, her marriage is over, and her parents are pushing her to seek therapy. Stephen's moved on, focusing on his career, while his parents continue funding Emily's college account, true to their word. I don't know what the future holds, but for now, Emily and I are rebuilding, one conversation at a time. Rachel thought she could erase me, but the truth doesn't stay buried forever. Sometimes, all it takes is one envelope, one moment, to bring it all to light.